So the first order of business is a roll call. So I'll call your name out and indicate your presence. Deep Bassi,
Present.
Paul Sedra,
Present.
Dan Kennedy,
Present.
Dennis O'Connor,
Present.
and I'm present as well. In attendance, we also have our Deputy Clerk, Courtney Hortfox, Secretary Treasurer, Lynn Banks, and County Planning Staff, Zach Prince and Curtis Marshall. So welcome to the September 8th, 2020 Planning and Development Advisory Committee. Before us on the Committee of Adjustment, we have 3 minor variances for consideration. And then in the second part of the meeting, we convey the Planning Development Advisory Committee, and our only business there is to review proposed housekeeping amendments to the zoning bylaw. Please note that this meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. So next item of business is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
No.
No? Okay. Neither do I. Let's go to the next item. The next item is approval of minutes, August 11th, 2020. May I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move.
Moved by Dennis, seconder. Moved by, seconded by Dan Kennedy. I'll call your name out and just indicate if you're in favor or not. So we'll start with Deep.
In favor.
Paul Sedra.
In favor.
Dan Kennedy.
In favor.
Dennis O'Connor.
In favor.
I'm in favor as well. So we're getting into the minor variance or permissions under Section 45 of Planning Act. And the purpose of this hearing is to inform and to provide the public the opportunity to ask questions or express their views with respect to a minor variance application before us today. The township requests that you please notify the secretary of the committee by email at lbanks@puslinch.ca. If you wish to be on record, would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding this application. The format of each of the minor variance hearings will be: staff will present the information report, specifically outlining the purpose and application, summarizing compliance with township's notification submission requirements, and outlining staff comments. The applicant then will be asked to present the purpose and details of the application and any other further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarifications, ask questions, express their views on the proposal. You will have a maximum of 10 minutes to speak. Following this, the members of the committee can obtain clarification, ask questions. Then the item will be turned over to the committee, and the committee will deliberate the application and write a decision. And the decision will be subject to a 20-day appeal period. So we'll get into applications for minor variance or permission under Section 45 of our Planning Act. To be the first one is 5A, minor variance application D13/HAR, George and Dorothy Harris property described as Part Lot 27, Concession 1, municipally known as 7182 Concession 1, Township of Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw number 023-2018 as amended to permit a reduced lot frontage of the retained parcel to be 19.5 meters instead of 120 meters as required. So, Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, outlining staff, agency, and public comments and recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comment was received from the Upper Grand District School Board. Please be advised that the Planning Department does not object to the proposed application, subject to the following condition: that education development charges shall be collected prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Okay, Lynn, do we have any comments with respect to the sight lines from our Works Department?
No, we did not.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now, would Courtney please have the owner applicant join the panelists to present her application?
Good evening.
Good evening. Would you please
It's
state your name and address, or your name? I guess it'll be, I think it's,
Good evening. It's Nancy Shoemaker, planning consultant representing George and Dorothy Harris. Committee members will recall that we dealt with this severance application last month. A concern expressed by the committee members was whether in fact the neighbors had been notified, and as a result of this minor variance, again, they have been notified about the application. We also discussed the MDS, which the county has confirmed the applications meets the MDS requirements. And the Hamilton Conservation Authority have indicated they have no objections to the application. So the request this evening is to recognize the reduced lot frontage of 19.5 meters. We provided a site plan that shows a potential location for the new house and septic. And at the time that we spoke about the consent last month, we indicated that the owner would be decommissioning the existing tile field and providing a new tile field for the existing house, and then we're showing an approximate tile field location for the new house. The reduced lot frontage, in reviewing the policies related to the official plan and zoning bylaw, there's sufficient frontage still to provide a safe access to the existing road allowance. The access will be between two existing driveways, and there's adequate separation between these two driveways. So we're hoping that the committee will support the minor variance this evening, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
great, thank you very much. Lynn, are there any registrants who have requested to speak?
No, we have not received any registrants.
Okay, Lynn, are there any written comments that have been received?
No, there have not been any written comments.
Courtney, would you please advise whether any attendees watching the hearing would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application?
There are no attendees present right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so it's the opportunity for the committee members. So Deep, do you have any questions you would like to ask?
Sure, I just have one question regarding safe entrance. Would that be, I guess, that would be possible considering there's other two driveways close by, right? Hello?
Nancy, question, did you hear the question, Nancy?
Yes, I heard the question. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were directing it to me.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's directed to you, yes.
Um,
Sorry, I should have been more explicit.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming since it's between two existing driveways that township would say there is safe access, and we've not had an indication otherwise.
Okay. Now, my second question would be, Nancy, regarding the 19.5. I mean, is this a minor variance that we're asking here?
When,
I'll answer that, Nancy. Deep, it is a minor variance application because it is not in accordance with the bylaw for a lot of that size.
Okay. So that's a go ahead, please.
Thank you. Paul, questions?
I just had a comment, I guess, about the house in the back being so close to the other two in the front. But if there's no comments from the neighbors, then I guess that's fine. And with regards to Deep's comment, I get it. I think, I would say that it's not the variance isn't minor. I think that's kind of maybe the point that he was trying to make, because I think you're going from 120 to almost 19 was the minimum. So that's just a comment anyway. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Well, the point is, if it's not a minor variance, it has to go for a zoning change. And
Okay.
that's a lengthy procedure.
Okay, thank you.
The planning staff have also provided their comments as well, and in their opinion, it's minor in nature. Okay, Dan, questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a comment here, and with regards to the approximate location of the new tile field, I was just wondering, since we're not seeing a well location for any of the neighbors, whether we should mention that, if the tile field's too close to a neighbor's well, it could be an issue going forward. Maybe that's not something we need to be concerned with, but
I would think we're dealing with the minor variance here, and Lynn, could you let me know whether or not is the consent coming back to us after the minor variance is approved, or should we be commenting on it here?
You should be commenting on it here.
Okay, and should we be providing it as a comment, not a condition?
We can put it in the decision. Well, it'll be in the minutes as a comment. If you'd like it in the decision, I can just note that it is a comment and not a condition.
Okay, fair enough. So you raised a good point, Dan. So your concern is that the tile well meets the prescribed distances from any, sorry, the well for the property, is that what you're concerned about? Will be far enough from the tiles?
well, that's one concern on their part, but my concern would be if I was the neighbor and my well was in behind my house, and now you're putting a tile field just a little bit north of my well, I'd be somewhat concerned.
Okay, so then you want a comment to say that the some sort of a technical assessment has been made for the suitability of the location of the tile with respect to the existing wells on the other property.
Yes,
Will that be covered under the septic permit though?
probably.
The septic wouldn't be allowed to be put too close to the existing well, and all the wells are recorded.
Yeah, it's typically, I believe it's 15 meters if I'm not mistaken, but well, okay, perhaps we could do, Dan, to address your concerns that the septic is located in accordance with the requirements of the necessary laws, because there is a distance separation for between, as Dennis points out, between wells and septic beds.
Okay.
Okay. And Dennis, comments?
I think everybody's hit on what I was thinking, so we're good.
Okay, so I'm a little bit leery. The planning report to us has asked that we should be satisfied that the safe access and egress can be addressed. So apart from putting a condition in the decision document, I don't know how we can address it. So I'm going to suggest we add a condition that the safe access and egress provided is to the satisfaction of the township.
I agree with that.
Okay, Lynn, can you read that?
So the condition will be that safe ingress and egress is provided to the satisfaction of the township.
Correct, that'll be a condition. And the point that Dan made with respect to the septic bed, I'd like to suggest we put a comment in the minutes that that the location of septic bed should be in accordance with the necessary regulations.
Okay, I can do that. I'll make sure that gets in the minutes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I'll go through the actual document. In the matter of section 45 of the Planning Act as amended, and that new comprehensive zoning bylaw 023-2018 as amended, an application for a minor variance requesting permission to allow requesting relief from visions of comprehensive zoning bylaw 023-2018 as amended to permit a reduced lot frontage of the retained parcel to be 19.5 meters instead of 120 meters as required. And the condition then, could you read that please again?
That safe ingress and egress is provided to the satisfaction of the township.
Okay, so what I'll do is ask each one of you in rotation to indicate whether you approve, deny, defer the application. Deep,
Approve.
Paul,
Approve.
Dan,
Approve.
Dennis,
Approve.
and I approve as well. Okay, so that wraps up that item. Move on to minor application D13, SIN, Kuldeep Singh, Harmonojad Grewal, and Navikaran Prit Kaur, property described as part lot 14, concession 3, municipally address not yet assigned, township of Puslinch. Requesting relief of new zoning, new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended to permit a maximum height of a single family dwelling to be 12.5 meters to the peak of the roof instead of 10 meters as required. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning again. Lynn, would you summarize the application, notification, submission requirements outlining staff, agency, and public comments and recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comments were received from the Upper Grand District School Board. Please be advised that the Planning Department does not object to the proposed application, subject to the following condition, that education development charges shall be collected prior to the issuance of a building permit. We also had a comment from a resident who was circulated within the 60-meter buffer zone. And their comment was, we acknowledge staff's support of the application and have no objections to the requested variance.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, would the applicant or agent please come forward? And would Courtney Hart-Fox please have him or her join the panelists to present their application?
Hi, John. Are we able to just have a brief recess or perhaps have, I'm not sure, I'm having trouble getting the agent and applicant to register for Zoom. I'm just on the phone with him right now trying to get him connected.
Okay, so do you want to recess? Is that what you're saying? Or would you rather we move to the other one, or do you want to recess?
I have Nancy's online here, so I could just display her because she is the agent for the next application after this.
Okay, so with the consent of the other members, would you prefer to wait, or are you fine with moving on to the 5C?
I'm okay with 5C.
I'm okay with moving on.
Moving on. Okay, fair enough. So let's move on to 5C. Sorry, Lynn, I'll have to ask you to For 5C minor application D13/ADD Joseph Dale, property described as part lot 27, concession 10, municipally known as 4331 Watson Road South, Township of Portage, requesting relief of new zoning comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-23 as amended to permit an accessory building to be permitted prior to the erection of principal building on the lot as required. Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, outlining staff, agency, and public comments and recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comment was received from the Upper Grand District School Board. Please be advised that the Planning Department does not object to the proposed application, subject to the following condition: that education development charges shall be collected prior to the issuance of a building permit. And that was the only comment.
Okay. Courtney, would you please have the owner applicant join the panelists to present their application?
Good evening. It's Nancy Shoemaker, planning consultant for the owner of this property. Committee members will recall that this application for consent was addressed at last month's meeting, and the committee members asked that the owner apply for a minor variance to allow the existing building to be on the property prior to a house being built. It is the owner's intention, as soon as the consent is approved and the minor variance is approved, to move forward with the construction of his house immediately behind the existing building. And so we're here just to receive, I guess, the minor variance as an interim until the house is built. And we understand that an agreement is required, and that is not a concern for the applicant. I'd be pleased to answer questions.
Okay. Lynn, are there any registrants who have requested to speak?
No, there are no registrants who did request to speak.
Lynn, are there any written comments that have been received?
No, we did not receive any written comments.
Courtney, would you please advise whether any attendees watching here would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application currently under discussion?
There are no attendees present right now.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll go to the members of the committee. So we'll start with Deep.
Sure. Hi, Nancy, Deep again.
Hi.
Sorry, Deep?
So once this the construction is complete for the new development, will the accessory building be demolished, or will it still remain on the property?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the building will remain on the property. It will become part of a home industry. Right now, it is used for the storage of food equipment, and it will continue to be used so with the owner occupying the house immediately beside this building.
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, I guess just a question with regards to that building. Once the home is built, will there be, maybe this is a question for the committee, like, do they need to get a permit with regards to lot coverage or anything like that on that accessory building? Because once that home's built, I think there's a certain percentage that building can be on the lot, no?
I agree, Paul. That will come out in the wash when they apply for the building permit, and
Okay.
if the building, proposed building and accessory building exceed the lot coverage, then they'll be asking for another minor variance.
Okay. Okay. That's all I had.
Plus the location being in front, will that affect the building permit? Like it's supposed to be, if I were to put a new one up, I couldn't be in front of the building, right?
Sorry, is that Dan talking?
Yeah, it's Dennis, sorry.
Dennis, okay, no, we'll go to Dan first.
Okay.
Dan?
No, I'm fine with this, John.
Okay, sorry, Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, jumped in. No, I just, if we have an accessory building, it needs to be behind the main building, right? So would that be covered under the building permit? He's gonna make the plans where that accessory building is gonna be in relation to the new building?
I would think if it does not comply with the zoning bylaw in terms of where the house is relative to that building, they'll be coming back for a minor variance.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions. There is a condition that I'll read out to everybody so they're aware of it. The owner will enter into agreement with the township that will allow the owner to keep the accessory building on the property until the dwelling is complete and the owner has occupancy. A term of the agreement is that the owner will be required to provide a $5,000 security to the township, which will be returned to the owner once the accessory structure has been demolished. So that's the agreement, of the condition of the document. So I'll read the document out. In the matter of Section 45 of the Planning Act, as amended, the new comprehensive zoning bylaw 023/2018 as amended, an application for a minor variance requesting permission to allow, requesting relief from provisions of a comprehensive zoning bylaw 023/2018 as amended to permit accessory building to be permitted prior to the erection of the principal building on a lot as required. The accessory building to exist on the lot until erection of principal building until the erection of the principal building on a lot as required. And the condition, as I read before, I'll turn to it now. The owner will enter into agreement with the township that will allow the owner to keep the accessory structure on the property until the dwelling is completed and the owner has occupancy. The term of the agreement is that the owner will be required to provide a $5,000 security to the township, which will be returned to the owner once the accessory structure has been demolished. Okay, so I'll go around the table and ask you to signify either approved, denied, or deferred. And we'll start with Deep. Sorry, Deep, you're muted.
Sorry, go ahead. Denied.
Denied? Paul?
Approved.
Dan?
Approve.
Dennis?
Approved.
Sorry, Dennis?
Approved.
And I approve it as well. So that's that item. So we move back to the 5B now. Just bear with me, I have to close some doors. There's some cleaning stuff here. Okay, I'm back. So Courtney, before we get everybody started, are we connected yet?
Yes, we are. I will just move our next agent over.
Well,
whenever
okay,
you're
let me
ready.
go through the process again and then we'll refresh everybody's mind. Okay, 5B minor variance application G13/SIN, Kuldeep Singh, Armanajot Grewal, and Navkiranpret Kaur, properly described as part lot 14, concession 3, municipal layout is not yet assigned, township of Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23/2018 as amended to permit the maximum height of single-family dwelling to be 12.5 meters to the peak of the roof instead of 10 meters as required. And Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, outlining staff, agency, public comments, or recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comments were received. Upper Grand District School Board, please be advised that the Planning Department does not object to the proposed application, subject to the following condition. that education development charges shall be collected prior to the issuance of a building permit. And also a comment from a resident within the 60-meter buffer zone. We acknowledge staff support of the application and have no objections to the requested variance.
Thank you very much. Courtney, would you please have the applicant join the panelists to present their application? Hello, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Hello?
Yes, would you please state your name and address?
Yes, good evening, Chairman, committee members, and staff. For the record, my name is Peter Vazikas of Empire Design Company, here to represent the owners of the property for the application before us today. My apologies for not being entered into the Zoom meeting, but in any case, we are together in one way or another. I'm sure after your review of the justification report, our site plan, and architectural drawings, we feel the proposed variance is minor in nature and seek relief from the committee members. Our basic dilemma here was the adverse grade conditions where it slopes upwards towards the rear. We had to actually push the house further back in order to meet some closely level ground, not to create any adverse swales or retaining walls to the neighboring properties. So yeah, basically it's 12 meters in height or just thereof. If we were to reduce it down to 10 meters, we'd probably end up with 8-foot ceiling heights and the partially buried ground floor at the rear yard because of the slope conditions. But because it's that high, we are further back than most homes, a lot further back than the neighboring properties. So in that respect, we believe that the eye is relieving itself from its overmassing at that point because it's set back so much further back. Based on the information we provided to you, we feel that the proposed variance is minor in nature and request a committee to find our application acceptable in hopes of granting us permission to proceed for a building permit.
Okay, thank you very much. Lynn,
Thank you.
Lynn, are there any registrants who requested to speak?
No, we don't have any registrants requested to speak.
Lynn, are there any written comments apart from the one that you have written, or not written, that you stated before?
No, that was the only comment we received.
Courtney, would you please advise whether there are any attendees watching the hearing who would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application for the end of the discussion?
There are no attendees present.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we'll turn it over to the committee members. Deep?
No comments.
Paul?
I'm okay here.
Dan?
No, I'm fine.
Dennis?
Okay.
I'm fine as well. So we'll go through the document and ask for a vote. In the matter section 45 of the Planning Act as amended, a new comprehensive zoning bylaw 023 as amended, an application for minor variance requesting permission to allow requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended to permit a maximum height of single family dwelling to be 12.5 meters to the peak of the roof instead of 10 meters as required. And there are no conditions. So I'll go around the table and ask each one of you to either approve, deny, or defer. Deep?
Approve.
Paul? Paul?
Approved.
Dan?
Approve.
Dennis?
Approved.
I approve it as well. And that wraps up the unanimous applications for us. Other matters, there are none. So I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the committee of adjustment at 5:34. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Steve, second. Paul? Okay, we'll go around the table asking Deep. In favor?
Yes, in favor.
Paul?
Favor.
Dan?
In favor.
Dennis?
In favor.
I'm in favor as well. Okay, now we move to the Planning Development Advisory Committee. As I noted, the only item on the agenda is the housekeeping bylaw amendment. So we'll do a roll call again. Deep,
Present.
Paul,
Present.
Dan,
Present.
Dennis,
Present.
and I'm present as well. Do we have any disclosure of the pecuniary interest with respect to this item?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Thank you. I don't have one either. And I need a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of August 11th, 2020.
I'll move that.
Dennis, second.
I'll
Deep.
second it.
So I'll go around the table and signify in favor or not in favor. Deep,
In favor.
Paul,
Favor?
Dan,
In favor.
Dennis,
In favor?
and I'm in favor as well. So there are no site plan urban design reviews. There are no zoning bylaw amendments. And we move to the housekeeping bylaw amendment to new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018. And we're to provide comments to the council, or the planning staff are here to help us walk us through if we have any questions. So what I propose to do is go page by page, and if there's nobody requests any discussion on the page, then we'll move on to the next page. Okay, are there any discussions on page 1? None. Are there anything to discuss on page 2? None. Page 3, any points of discussion there? Okay, I had a point of discussion. This is item number 7, section 3, height. The section and the amendments is missing a paragraph. You may recall just a few minutes ago, we had an issue with a minor variance associated with a building or a home that was 12.5 meters. The previous zoning bylaw said that it had to be 10 meters to the middle of the roof. So that's going to be added into this particular clause to be consistent with the previous zoning bylaw. Courtney, is that what you have there? Is the revised version?
Sorry, I
No,
have
you still have the old version. So I guess, Zach, do you have the wording of the proposed wording?
Yes, through the chair. So this is what's bolded is what was in the previous bylaw from that was approved in 1985. So as John mentioned, the piece that's missing is under section 3. The sentence that's missing says the average level between eaves and ridge, except that one sloped roof, and then it carries on having a slope of less than 20 degrees. So the key difference is how it's measured currently, as the last minor variance that we just talked about is from the it's from the base elevation to the peak. This reverts back to the height on a building, which is the standard practice across the township.
Okay, so any comments on that proposed addition? It's basically consistent with what was done previous years up to the current zoning bylaw. No comments?
So through the chair, I'll just add one more thing. We can also add in the old bylaw, there was a illustrations chart that showed the different types of roofs.
Yes.
We don't have that in the new bylaw, but I would also propose that we add that into the new bylaw as well, too.
Okay, so I would agree with that as well. Any comments from the other members? Deep? You're muted, Deep. Deep, do you have any comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Paul?
This is
cover accessory buildings as well, or is it just,
Sorry, Paul, you're breaking up, Paul.
like the dwelling?
Sorry, Paul, can you repeat
covers
that?
accessory buildings as well, right? Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Does this cover accessory buildings as well as the dwelling, like the residential dwelling, or like it involves all structures in the property, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Dan, any comments?
No, I'm fine with that idea. Put
Okay,
forward.
Dennis?
Oh, I agree with that addition. It's good.
Okay. All right, so we move to the next page, page 4. Any comments on that page? No? Okay, we move to page 5. Any comments on that page?
Yeah, I've it's Paul. I've
Yes.
turned my video off just because it's. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
We can hear you now. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. So just with regards to 11 5.2,
Yes.
I guess when it says commercial motor vehicles, like do we have a definition of what that is? Does that cover off, like heavy machinery, like different types of machinery, or is this something specific that I was just looking for some more clarity around that?
Sure. So through the chair, let me just pull up the definition in the zoning bylaw. So the zoning bylaw defines commercial motor vehicle, a motor vehicle having permanently attached thereto a truck or delivery body, and includes ambulances, hearse, casket wagons, fire apparatuses, buses, and tractors used for hauling purposes on streets. So I would say that like heavy equipment, like related to a contractor's yard, wouldn't be included in that. But what it is trying to capture is things like somebody who has who drives a transport truck, but they only drive the front portion of the truck. They park that on their property. So right now the zoning bylaw is only allowing that in residential areas, and we're proposing to also allow that in the agricultural areas, and that's consistent with the old bylaw as well too.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I was getting at with regards to sort of that machinery in the contractor's yard. It might be irrelevant to this one, but I'm not sure. I was looking for some more clarity around that, but that's fine.
Yeah, so a contractor's yard. So like if somebody was parking their backhoe, for example, that wouldn't fall under commercial motor vehicle, and that wouldn't be permitted.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments there? Dan, you okay? And
Yeah, I'm fine.
Dennis?
Okay.
All right. So we move to the next one, page 6. Deep?
No, I'm good.
Paul?
I'm okay.
Dan?
I'm fine.
Dennis?
I'm okay.
Okay. I have a concern with respect to items 12, 13, and 14, where it says remove hydrological as of right to reduce the lot size. You may recall what we said in the document that if the lot is under an acre, then they have to demonstrate that there's enough. They have to do a hydrological study to show that it's viable to have the home there. Now, I talked to Zach about this, and Zach, I was wondering if you can just share the reason why you want to remove that.
Yep. So through the chair, our thought here is, and John, after talking to you, I spoke to Curtis about this as well too, and mostly our concern is in relation to some of the estate subdivisions that are in Pushland. So a lot of those subdivisions were designed kind of collectively. You can imagine if there's 20 lots, all the septics and all the wells are kind of designed. That whole subdivision was looked at as a whole. what we're trying to avoid is somebody applying for a variance or a consent application for a smaller lot, even though they're looking at it at a lot basis and they are providing a hydrogeological study for that one lot. They maybe aren't looking at the whole picture in that particular example. So while we do look for a hydrogeological study when there is a reduced lot for less than 1 acre, there are some other factors that we look at as well too. So that's why we were proposing to remove it, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so my thought process was to keep that in and identify other requirements. In other words, leave that clause in and say, including other requirements as deemed necessary by the township. So I'll leave it up to rest of you gentlemen to see how you feel about that as well. Deep comments? Do you prefer what's here to remove it completely, or do you want to add more verbiage to, we recommend that more verbiage be added to the zoning bylaw.
I think I'm okay with this, the way it is.
So, you mean to take this out?
I guess we, I'm not sure on this one, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Paul, any suggestions or thoughts?
I think I'm okay with the approach of removing it, just from Zach's point with regards to subdivisions in the township, and that kind of makes some sense to me.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, after reading this, I'm not in favor of taking it out. I think it should be left in to bring further discussion depending on the lot.
Okay, Dennis?
Yeah, I agree with leaving it in just to, as you say, if there's deal with the exceptions if we need to.
Okay, and so the way I see there's three of us would prefer to leave it in with bolstering the verbiage in there to indicate there what may be other requirements. And Deep, you sort of didn't have an opinion. Paul, you were okay with the approach here. So I'd like to suggest that we comment that we would like to leave it in and bolster the clause up to include other requirements that as may be deemed necessary by the township.
Oh, Councillor Sapoulos, it's Curtis here. Can I add something?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I just think the one thing, just to provide hopefully some clarity and I don't cause more confusion, which sometimes when planners add more in, they make things more basically what we would be proposing is to go back to the previous approach in the previous zoning bylaw would be that the minimum lot size in the agricultural area would be 1 acre. If you wanted to go smaller than 1 acre, you would need a minor variance, and we would ask that you submit a hydrogeological study to support your variance. That's what we're proposing. How it's written now, basically there isn't a minimum lot size because if you provide a satisfactory hydrogeological study, your reduced lot size is automatically recognized. So although it's dealt with the water issue of water supply, someone could propose a 1/4 acre lot that then may not be appropriate for the neighborhood and would comply with the zoning based on the wording in the bylaw.
I see. Okay. That helps me clarify the matters. Dennis and Dan, how do you feel about the explanation?
I can go with that explanation.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave that alone. The last one I had comments on this sheet was the proposed removal of the recycling facility from the industrial zone area and only permit in DI zone. Again, Curtis and I talked about that, my concern is that the gravel operators are in a extractive zone. If you look at the table doesn't allow for recycling by um, gravel aggregate operators, or either capital paving where they recycle asphalt in it. So they don't allow that. That's not checked off in that column. I can understand perhaps industrial, but if somebody like Capital is in an industrial area and not an extractive area, I would think that recycling is part of their business. So I'd like to have planning staff comment on how to get around this particular point.
Through the chair, our thoughts with removing this from the I&D column, really, recycling facility isn't a defined term in the zoning bylaw. So it, when we're thinking about recycling facilities, we're mostly thinking about like kind of like a glass recycling facility. We've come across some type of like salvage yards that tried to describe themselves as recycling facilities. Less focused on the kind of aggregate extractive kind of terms for recycling facilities. So the IND zone may be the appropriate place for a recycling facility, like a glass recycling facility. However, we feel that it should go through the zoning amendment process, and rather than being permitted as of right in every IND zone, there are a lot of factors to go into a use like that. That is a lot more, would create potentially a lot more nuisances than some of the other uses that are in an industrial zone. So that was really the thinking behind removing that as of right, and going back to the way the previous kind of, if somebody was proposing a recycling plant in an industrial zone, they would have to go through a zoning amendment under the old bylaw, and we're reverting back to that with this change as well too. So it doesn't specifically deal with the issue that you're describing, Mr. Chair.
Okay, what about the extractive zones? You don't have a check mark for the extractive zone recycling. I guess you're telling me that it's defined, recycling is defined, and you won't have that type of recycling in the extractive zone. You may have concrete being recycled, but that's not the definition of your recycling.
Right. Sorry, I do have a definition of recycling facility in the bylaw. It's any premises where goods, wares, merchandise, articles, or things are dismantled and or sorted for further.
Right. Yeah, and I'm saying that doesn't will not apply to extractive area if we put the check mark there. Okay, so that was my comment, gentlemen. Anybody else want to pipe in on this? Deep?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, Paul?
No.
Dan?
I'm fine.
Dennis?
I'm good.
Okay, all right, so let's move on to page 7. Any comments? Deep?
No.
Paul?
No.
Dan?
None.
Dennis?
No.
Okay. I briefly discussed item 18 with Zach, and Zach, are you going to propose to remove this requirement?
Yes, through the chair. Number 18 deals with the zoning overlay. It's an industrial overlay that it applies to certain parts of the township. The way it was structured was it was meant to kind of enforce the urban design guidelines that the township has on the industrial areas. Based on some feedback that we've received from some landowners and some inquiries that we've had, there is some disagreement on kind of how that gets interpreted. So just revising the mapping was kind of our simple solution, but I think on further review, we'll have to look at it more closely. And when this does go to public meeting, I think we'll remove this as an item to discuss in this housekeeping bylaw, and it may come up in a future housekeeping bylaw where we discuss it in more detail, because it will affect some landowners.
Okay, so then this is removed for further consideration then.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so we move on to page 8. Any comments, questions? Deep?
No.
Paul?
No.
Ken?
And
Dennis?
None.
Okay, we move on to page 9. Deep?
No.
Paul?
No.
Dan?
no,
Dennis?
No.
Okay, we're good there. Then we move on to page 10. Any comments, Deep?
No.
Paul?
No.
Dan?
no,
Dennis?
No.
Okay, I'm good there too. And the last page looks like a test page, so I won't ask for comments on that. Okay, very good. And so we have the comments there. Lynn, did you keep track of our comments?
I did try to keep track of them. What I'll do tomorrow is just review the video once Courtney has it posted and make sure I have everything with the right numbers and what the comments cover, and then I can send it to the committee to take a look at before it gets included in the minutes or gets sent to council for the public meeting in October.
Okay, sounds good. Gentlemen, happy with that?
Yeah.
pretty good.
Okay, good. All right, so land division, there's none. Other matters, none. Closed meeting, none. Next meeting is Tuesday, October 13th at 7 p.m. And I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting at 7:56 p.m.
Second.
Okay, Dennis, second Dan. Let's go around the table. Deep,
Approve?
Paul,
Approve.
Dan,
Approve.
Dennis?
Approve.
I'm in favor as well. Okay, that's great, gentlemen. So thank you, Courtney, and thank you, Lynn, and we'll do this in another month's time.
Okay.